governance, ESG practices in a holistic manner. In his maiden State of the Nation SONA speech, Mr. President pointed out the importance of having an ESG strategy. ESG is indeed the basis for sustainability in the development of the tourism sector and other related sectors. Minister, I've been told that your ministry is mandated to lead the ESG. This is a great opportunity because the adoption of ESG in the tourism sector will ensure that companies in the industry recognize and demonstrate the value of our natural capital, that is our environment. Secondly, complaints by employees and local communities where these companies operate will be minimized, leading to improved employee welfare and livelihoods. And lastly, proper governance that promotes transparency, accountability, and zero tolerance to corruption will lead to a sustainable tourism industry. Director of Ceremonies, our communities in Gamiland need land, as communal land is land that belongs to everyone. Hence, its value is not realized. As residents in the Ngamiland district, I believe that the challenge of having land that we don't have should be addressed. If we are to participate in fully tourism industry, we need land that is ours, written in our name as a community. Royalties and rentals going into the development of our people. The current system needs to be relooked at with a view to improving it for maximization of benefits and minimizing costs. Please allow me to use this opportunity to lay down other challenges faced by the Maung community in general. These include water shortages, which when available has obvious quality issues. Mr. President, our water needs serious attention. It is a health risk. We request that Water Utilities Corporation should be helped with appropriate facilities to clean our water. Other challenges which must be mentioned are social ills, high unemployment, and a drastic decline in cattle head due to drought. Ladies and gentlemen, in spite of these challenges, what gives me hope this morning is the theme, Botswana Tourism. What are the conditions for growth? A theme which will give us an opportunity to define growth in the context of benefits for all. I hope the discussions today will guide us towards the right direction. Having said this, let me wish you productive discussions and enjoy your stay in Maung. Pula.
Mabatu, another round of applause for Khosi, please. If you may allow me, Khosi, let me advocate something for you. I've heard the statement of Maumbi in the town, or the tourism town. Why don't we upgrade it into a tourism city? We already have an international airport here, don't we? The historical element of Maung, the diversity, the economy. There are so many things that we can write home about. Why don't we just make it a third city of the Republic of Botswana? Just a thought. With those remarks, let me welcome to the stage Babarit Istingha, the Hatab chairman, Re Jomote. We welcome you to the stage to give us a few remarks in relation to this 40th session of the Hatab conference. A round of applause, please.
Mr. President, honorable ministers present, Khosi, Mapalamente, and please allow me to say protocol observed. But certainly acknowledge everybody in the room, the champions of this very tourism that has brought us here. Good morning. I initially prepared a 15-page speech, but on second thought, I have cut it down to maybe less than a page. The reason for doing that is because of the discussions which I've had with Minister of Tourism, Rem Molutsi, and other ministers present. But there is a need to just touch base on one or two issues without getting into details. But let me assure you, before I do that, members of the industry, that we also, and would like to commit and request Your Excellency for us to get an opportunity to pay you a courtesy call very soon so that we can put all the issues that are within my 15-page speech to you at that courtesy call. I also would like to request, that we reinstate the PITSO, the tourism PITSO, which will allow us to discuss issues in more depth as we used to sometime in the long past. I believe that it is necessary to do so because there we will have various stakeholders, broad stakeholders from across ministries and departments. Your Excellency, Mr. President, I also want to commit as Hatab to working together with your government, our government, through the Minister of Tourism. We have agreed that going forward, we will formulate a partnership that will look into issues that we bring on the table. We will, through this partnership with the ministry, we will also offer possible solutions so that we move forward in a quicker and better way. And the minister has assured me, or assured us, that indeed that is the way we are going to work going forward. And we are thankful, Mr. Minister, for that commitment because it will help us in terms of putting issues aside. The other thing that I propose to you, Your Excellency, Mr. President, is that when we, and the ministers present, when we come up with policies and issues, we actually do a detailed study as to what the implications of those policies and regulations are going to be on tourism, because we are here on tourism. There are sometimes a need to actually do a litmus test of those policies to see how they will impact the industry at large when they're implemented. We should also, through this partnership, be quick to review and alter, change, add, and subtract where it is necessary and where we see an impediment to doing business at an instant, and not take too long to review things and in that process leave the investors and the industry disadvantaged. But like I said, I'm not going to get into too many details based on that agreement that we have. There is a thorn in the industry though, one or two. Firstly, security of tenure. We need to be able to improve our turnaround in terms of finalizing issues such as lease agreements. The implication in terms of delays in finalizing these lease agreements are far-reaching because they actually do not allow for speedy and reliable growth of the tourism industry, as we have stated. We are quite aware of the challenges that we are facing as a country and the need for us to actually strengthen the tourism industry, as it is the only other alternative to the growth of the economy. And through that, as Hatab, all our members, and we do also work with those that are not our members, commit to ensuring that we do that and help in employment and job creation in Botswana. Tourism is the only thing that can actually sustain and diversify our economy within a short period of time. We have seen those results, we have seen the results, and believe that we are all in agreement that we need to be able to do that. But like I said, we need to be able to be agile, we need to be able to be considerate, we need to be able to review policies and regulations instantly and on time for us to ensure that we continue to do that. With those few remarks, sir, thank you very much for being with us, and we wish you, like I said, you will be around for quite some time, but we will sit down and discuss issues in detail as agreed. Kale kalo re a leboga.
Another round of applause for Ramotse. I do remember those tourism pizza. Ramotse, I do remember them very, very well. Your call for them to come back, I guess it's a call that we would need to move the industry in the direction that you would love to see it happen. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 5 sessions between today and tomorrow. This is the first of the 5 sessions, the official opening of the Hatab 2025 conference, the 40th of its kind since 1982 when Hatab was formed. There are going to be many discussions throughout the course of these 2 days. And like I requested earlier, if we go into a Q&As, please be short, precise, and to the point. I know we would like to talk about backstories, but because this program has to run very fast, and I'm a stickler for time, my job is to sell seconds, so I understand the value of every second. With that, I would like to call upon for the first session with the theme, taking investment to diversify and grow Botswana tourism. I'd like to call to the stage from BOMAID, Remoraki Mokosana, to introduce his panelists. It is going to be a very short session, and then that will make way for the remarks by the Minister of Environment and Tourism, leading us to the official opening by Mr. President this morning. Re Mokosana, The time is yours, sir. I hope your round of applause.
Mr. President, a very good morning to you. I'm going to, with your permission, sir, ride on the protocol that has already been observed. But I will acknowledge your ministers, captains, members of the diplomatic corps, COSI. We have a session that is very short as a director of ceremonies. I'm challenged here, as already alluded to, I'm challenged here because this is a session that can basically start and finish today's, this whole conference. Professor Shabani Nzinge was my lecturer when I was a student at the university. Johnny Gibson from Chobe Holdings, an organization that has gone a long way, over 40 years in Botswana. I was privileged to attend an anniversary celebration and had some wonderful stories about how the family, along with the likes of the late Julian Ganunu, Duncan Mlazi, and Re Adams Chilisa, started this very large organization. Keith Vincent, another organization that's been around for quite some time, 40 years. He was telling me a beautiful story about how he's moving into the world with his tourism business, and who none other than Re Derek Jube, a gentleman who is is acclaimed worldwide, done a lot of work. I think those of you who watched National Geographic World would have seen a lot of the work that he's done, but he also is a founder of Great Plains. In about 15-20 minutes, we're going to ask these gentlemen to come up here and tell us about how they believe that the industry can be diversified and how it can be grown, and also how we can contribute to the creation of employment in this country of ours, the beautiful country of ours. Gentlemen, if you don't mind, if you can come up to the podium, please. Like I said, it is a very short session, but we will try and capture as succinctly as we can some of the opportunities that can be unlocked in this tourism industry in Botswana. I'll start off with Professor Nzinge.
Thank you, moderator. Mr. President, all protocol observed. I've been given only 5 minutes to say my piece, which is very challenging, but I'll just mention the points that I wish to raise. First, to acknowledge that Botswana as a country, we have done very well in ecological preservation. I think we've done a very good job there. We have not done that well in diversifying the tourism sector. We need to do more there. We have been largely based on or reliant on wildlife tourism, and we need to focus on other forms of tourism that include cultural and indeed other forms of tourism. We have also not diversified the tourism industry in terms of ensuring that we have tourism activities throughout the country. We have tended to focus on where we are, the Delta and Chobe, for instance. If I was to ask you, why are we here? It is because of the Delta. Many of our tourism functions and meetings, they're either here or in Kasane. Now, I'm raising this because I would like us to have in mind that when we review policies, because we do need to review policies and programs, we should not just focus on northern Botswana. we should not just focus on wildlife-based tourism. We need to look at other forms of tourism. We need to look at other parts of the country. If I may ask you, ladies and gentlemen, how many of you, for instance, have been to Tuli Block? How many of you even know about Kalahari Transfrontier Park? How many of you have been there? It is at a place that I call the end of the world, southwestern Botswana. We have a transnational park there, a joint park between Botswana and South Africa, second only in geographical size to the CKGR. And indeed, how many of us have been to the CKGR? I think when we move forward from here in terms of aiming to diversify this product that we call tourism, we should bear all these things in mind. First of all, I think it's well accepted that tourism, in terms of foreign exchange earnings, it is the second largest after minerals. And we also know that, or it looks like maybe diamonds are not forever. So let's utilize this sector, which in my view has not been exploited fully. We need to really spend more time on it. Let's focus on it and let government invest in the infrastructure that would enable a vibrant tourism sector in this country. We need infrastructure in terms of roads. For instance, where we are, if you are going into Moremi, there's a road, one of the roads that are used. We have been battling with the state of that road for a long time. Look at air connectivity. Botswana is not such a big country geographically. But can you easily move from here, northern Botswana, for instance, to the Kalahari Transfrontier Park or vice versa? The answer is no. There are just so many bottlenecks that we can easily address so that this country makes it easy for tourists to travel and navigate the different parts of this country. We do have tourists, for instance, that come to northern Botswana here, where we are, and want to go, for instance, to whether to Tuli Block or to Kalahari Transfrontier Park, and cannot easily do that. Or they come to Kalahari Transfrontier Park and they then want to connect here. So what happens is that we actually lose those business. If they come to the Kalahari Transfrontier Park and had wanted to come to northern Botswana, they end up instead going to Northern Cape in South Africa or some parts of Namibia, when they could have spent more time in this country. And likewise, those who come to northern Botswana and would like to go to other parts of Botswana, again, because of the restrictions or limitations that we face in the aviation industry. And I'm talking about charter flights here. I'm not even talking about us building international airports all over the country and asking airlines to go there. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we could do so much better by opening the skies to ensure that tourists can easily move around the country. I want to just to maybe end by talking about the Transfrontier Parks, since that's one of the things that we are dealing with as a country. The first of which is the Kalahari Transfrontier Park. We're also now working on Kaza. Our experience at the Kalahari Transfrontier Park suggests that we really need, as a country, to be very careful about how we negotiate with our partners, which is the other countries in the region, so that we can benefit from that collaboration with other countries. We are not benefiting as well as we should right now in some of those countries. And remember also that the different countries in the region have got different legislation relating to especially national parks. You'll alert me if my time is up. Is it up?
Yes.
Okay. But we need to ensure, for instance, that we review our legislation that relates to parks together with our partners. If you look at Kalahari Transfrontier Park, which is celebrating 25 years of existence next month. 25 years. We are still operating with South African laws next to Botswana laws, and they are different, and it's causing chaos. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor. A round of applause. I think just some very quick takeaways. We're here to provide solutions, Mr. President. I think the takeaways: infrastructure, diversification. Resiberani was saying earlier that Maun should be a city. I suspect you're going to be advocating for, is it Sabong or Hukunzi, to also become cities in the Transfrontier?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. No. Thanks for that. Thank you very much. Johnny, you want to share your thoughts?
Thank you very, very much. In the early 1980s, when my father returned to Chobe, he was not only sort of capturing the happy memories of his childhood, but he was also buying in to the nature of Botswana at that time, a nature of stability, and government who worked with the private sector to develop an industry that has gone from almost nothing 40 years ago to a significant contributor to the GDP and to employment, particularly in the north of this country. And I think that stability is something that we have really cherished as Chobe Holdings. And we have placed our business in Botswana, first in Kasane and then in Maun, because of that stability and because of that willingness to have a dialogue with the industry and to develop the industry in a collaborative way. If I look at tourism and business as a whole, it's about stability. It's about being able to make investment decisions, knowing that the decision you make today will be moved forward in an uncertain world in the most certain way, so that the returns to shareholders and to the community in which we operate are predictable, so we can make the right investments, so that we don't make the wrong investment that leads to failure. We have been very, very lucky within Botswana that we have made the right decisions and the right investments based on the stability that the framework has allowed over these last 40 years. I think what we would like to talk about now is the importance, as we start to really supercharge tourism in Botswana, is the importance of dialogue. And as was alluded to by the chairman initially, the tourism pitso that we had for so many years was a really important tool to foster that dialogue. And we didn't always agree with everyone's views in that pitso, but what was important was that everyone had a view, and that government and the private sector could work together in addressing the shortcomings that were holding back the industry. And I think that dialogue is incredibly important. We also need, as a nation, to come together and look at how tourism can contribute to the economic and social development. And we need to look at the tourism strategy and develop a tourism strategy that hasn't just been written by one sector, but is written across government and the private sector with the collaboration that I talk about, with that dialogue, so that it can best serve this nation. It's incredibly important that that dialogue happens, because there are many different hats in this room and different priorities. As Chobe, we don't have all the answers. We've got some answers, we've got some thoughts, and we would like to be able to express that, so that some of our views are fused with the views of everyone in this room, and a single national strategy can develop, a strategy on which we can build a framework for tourism. We can review the legislation that tourism sits under and the authorities that we work under, so that we can harmonize. We have legislation that we work through in the national parks that was initially formulated in the 1960s, and potentially, and I'm not saying it isn't, but it's potentially not suited to the modern age, where we have mass tourism. The great danger in this country is that we destroy the very tourism asset, the wildlife product that we really sell to the world. So we need to look at how we can manage the people that come to this country. And if we look at the numbers in Botswana, and Statistics Botswana tell us that in 2019, 320,000 international visitors came to Botswana. And then in 2023, we were down to 312,000 after COVID. What we have seen is that international travel has recovered very, very quickly. And international travel is a vital component in the foreign exchange earnings that this country needs to develop society. So it's important that we have this dialogue. It's important that we look at legislative changes to support the change to the tourism industry. And finally, I think an important item that we really need to look at is the question of tourism leakages. As a company, every tebe that we earn as revenue is brought into this country, and I think that's incredibly important. But I think it's important the government uses the existing legislation to understand the leakages problem. Understand that in some definitions of leakage, payments made to government in Gaborone would contribute a leakage to Ngamiland, and understand the science behind leakages, and use existing legislation to ensure that every tebe that is earned in Botswana is remitted to Botswana and is taxed in Botswana for the development of the nation. So thank you very much, Your Excellency, for taking part in this dialogue and starting what I think is a really important route forward for tourism and the development of the nation. Thank you.
Thanks, Johnny. Very, very poignant points there. I think, again, the takeaway is building on to what the professor was talking to. Two things that I know your government is very passionate about, Mr. President. Terisanyo. Let's dialogue, let's have a conversation and see how we can move forward the nation. I think that we can unlock a lot of opportunities from that. The second thing is the other thing, legislation. I know you're very passionate about the law. Maybe we need to relook at some of the laws around tourism and see what we can do to make it relevant for Botswana and to be able to move us forward as a new frontier in terms of economic growth. Thanks so much, gentlemen. Over to you, Mr. Jube.
Thank you, Mr. President, everybody. This panel would have looked a lot better had Daphne Kadiwe taken my place here. But she pretended to lose her voice today, so unfortunately you've got me. I feel like the baby here. You've been in business for 40 years, and so have you, and we've just been in business for about 20. So I don't have very much to say, except that we shouldn't be too down on tourism Botswana. I've been invited into Uganda, into Kenya, into Brazil, into Tanzania, all on the opening letter, the opening sentence saying, please bring the Botswana model to our country. We should be proud that the Botswana model is well acknowledged and well looked up to all around the world. So now our challenge to grow is not to destroy the Botswana model. You spoke about stability. And I think that all businesses just want stability. They don't want to change in the next government and this one. And they want to know that they've got their leases. Any markets, any financial markets want stability. They don't want ups and downs. Tariffs today, no tariffs tomorrow, that sort of thing. Don't laugh at that, please. So that's really what we want. But we've just gone this week, we've just gone through Earth Day. And Earth Day is all about celebrating this planet, this Earth that I've made films on my whole life, that we all do tourism on. We all rely on that. And we need to acknowledge that. We need to know that we've got to take care of that first. Because any business, certainly in tourism and in conservation, needs a solid foundation. We can't just grow without a solid foundation. We already know we've got the Botswana model. That's a great foundation. One of the things that will trip us up in time is corruption. If we let corruption creep into our culture and into our mentality, it'll pervade us. I was sitting with the president of Rwanda recently, and we were talking about growth. It's the same subject. And he said to me, you know, Derek, the obstacle to prosperity from poverty is corruption. It's the one obstacle. If you solve corruption, you can solve everything. Because at that point, everybody's working together for a common good. We do want to see diversity. We do want to see our communities benefiting from tourism and conservation. But if we rush to it and we bring in the mass tourism that John's talking about, we will trip ourselves up and we will destroy that Botswana model that everybody looks up to in the world. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thanks, Derek. You're calling yourself an infant. 30 years ago, I stumbled across Eternal Enemies. The story about the hyena and the lion, and the Savuti, and Bontwa Dumela. Yeah, I think it was very profound. There's a lot of richness in your experience. I think the contributions are immense. I think the important thing, again, we're taking it. Minister Mohasa had made the same comment here last night, and I think Jose also said the same thing, corruption. We all have to move towards a common goal, right? Yes, we are in Africa, but we are a special case in Africa. And there's this thing about this model, the Botswana model. You know, you've probably been to Serengeti, and you've seen the product that you see in East Africa versus the product that you see in Botswana. Chalk and cheese. But we found our own little niche, and we probably need to develop on that, right? So thanks very much for that. I think the corruption element is very, very important, and the modeling, and just trying to find that niche of ours, and staying focused on our goal, right? So thank you very much for that. Mr. Vincent, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, the President, my line minister, and our PS and the ranting. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate the new minister and the PS, and so Your Excellency, the President, to be here today. The minister and the PS have already traveled around many spots within the Delta, getting to know the product, getting to know the people, getting to know the players is obviously a critical step in the opening of dialogue to the point. I don't want to spend too much time echoing words of wisdom from my friends, Derek and John and the professor. But I do want to actually say that we should congratulate ourselves as a nation that we've created a wildlife tourism model that is the jealousy of the planet. I mean, Derek is 100% correct. I spend my life traveling around the world. When you say we from Botswana, in the Botswana Wildlife Conservation Business, the whole world stands to attention. And that's something we should be proud of. Having said that, we need to move at speed into tomorrow's world. And I think from a point of view of investing into the future, we have to make sure that the tourism industry is playing a greater role in the GDP generation for the country at large. So that's got to be a focus of the industry at large. We have to develop and grow generational wealth for our people of the country. And how do we do that? And I think there's many different ways of doing that. But one of the ways is to create the security of tenure. We've talked about security of tenure. So the issues, to me, are not actually that complicated. There's laundry lists of, let's call it small details. But if we concentrate on the big things, and I'd like to raise a point here, and I know my good friend Jose Modisa from Stanbic is here as a banker, okay? But just to understand, it's not always about finding new finance. I've borrowed 1.2 billion pula from Stanbic to develop tourism around Africa. That's from local finance. And Stanbic, Josie, well done, and Stanbic, okay? So we have expertise in the country. We have finance opportunities in the country. Yes, do we need to move quicker? Yes, without losing stability and protecting the very core jewel of our diamond. But I'd also like to bring another thing, and I know we all spend many hours of our lives thinking about this, is we've also got to, at the community village level, there's obviously always this problem of human-wildlife conflict. Ensuring that we actually play an active role of protecting the people as much as we're protecting the very essence of the wildlife and conservation, because the people and the wildlife play a symbiotic role. It's very important. I mean, Derek and I both operate in Kenya, where there's actually such integration between people and wildlife. And you can see it here in Botswana. And is it a challenge for us? It's a challenge for us every day. We must never forget that. And at that level, there's so many things we can do that are easy to do that should be, sometimes we call it CSR, but it should become embedded in the industry. Yes, the professor is incredibly right. We need to grow the industry outside of the boundaries of the Delta and the Chobe. It is possible. And by the way, Professor, I have been to the Tuli block. Okay, so, and we do need to grow, be it Gaborone, in the form of mice, in the form of what can we do elsewhere of the industry. So yes, our speciality is wildlife tourism, but that doesn't mean that we cannot have dialogue and help and assist and train. And I think the role of people like us sitting here, of training and making sure, and I'm not sure if everyone here knows this, but one of the most progressive things about Botswana is that by having a registered training school, you get a 200% tax break from that. So, Sir, Minister of Finance, thank you very much. Because what it shows is that by training citizens, by allowing citizens to grow, we can create that growth. And it's actually at the end of the day for free. So it's worth our while training more and more people. We can cry about we keep losing talent. But if you train enough, what will happen is talent will return. But also creating stability will create long-term generational wealth. And I think whilst I want to look over my shoulder and congratulate what Botswana and a group of dedicated individuals have done historically, today is the day where we should be looking forward. And I can tell you as an individual and as a business, I'm more excited about the opportunity tomorrow than I was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So I would like to congratulate, I want to say the opening. You've challenged us as an industry, you've challenged us as industry, as industry. We need to promise that we stand shoulder to shoulder, and we need to move quickly. Our youth and unemployment in our youth level cannot wait. We can't wait 10 years of talking. We need to produce tomorrow, so we need to have instant dialogue quickly. We must do it responsibly for sure, but we've got a small space of time where we can plot. And our dialogue should be, what is our vision for the next 50 years? And so I look forward to the next 50 years. I hope I make the next 50 years. I probably won't, but I really look forward to it. And I'd like to say to everyone, guys, it's a challenge. Let's do what's right for Botswana, and let's do it as fast as possible. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks, Keith. Thanks very much. Thanks very much. Again, diversification. I sitting watching the 3 or 4 of you gentlemen, I think, again, Mr. President is very passionate about employment creation. And I think between the 4 of you, easily a couple of thousand employees. I know you've got about 600, 300, 400, and you've got also quite about 600 or 700,000, right? So there's 2,000 jobs that you guys have put in the market. So let's have a conversation. Again, Minister Mohasa set the scene for us yesterday. There's an issue, I think, Mr. President, maybe you can, it's not my place to start talking about living wages, but that's your forte. I think you can talk to that. Gentlemen, thank you very much. I think there's a lot, obviously, I think there's a lot that you shared with us today, and they set the scene for us, help us to see the opportunities in the mice sector, specifically, also in the tourism sector. And thanks very much again. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think, okay, I don't have any time for questions, do I? Okay, so we'll wrap it up at that. I think we'll have time to engage a little bit later on as we go out for coffee and everything. Thanks a lot, and have a good morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for the captains of industry. I think Remo Khosana is right. This is a conversation for the whole day. I could listen to them the whole day, have a conversation with them the whole day. The tech team that was supposed to move, shift a few things on the stage, please, let's do that now as we get ready to welcome the minister. A man I haven't seen in a minute, but it's good to see you, sir. It's good to see you. As we make way to towards the end of the official opening of today's session. And I've been reminded to remind the exhibitors that, be reminded that the President will be touring your stalls very soon. Make sure that all is well. With that being said, I would like to call upon to address his maiden Hatab Conference 2025. Let's continue to remember the theme, Botswana Tourism, what are the conditions for growth? I'd like to welcome to the podium the Minister for Environment and Tourism, Honorable Winter Boipuso Muluti, to give us his remarks this morning. Say.
Thank you very much, Director of Ceremony. Let me acknowledge the presence of Mr. President, Advocate DUMA Gideon BOKO, Honorable Ministers present here this morning, Member of Parliament. Let me recognize the presence of the Hatab Chair and the CEO, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Khosi Mema Muremi, and allow me to just stand on the protocol that has already been established so that I can now say good morning to you all. When the conversation here was going on, I was extremely impressed because the people who were actually panelists here are people that I've had interactions with before. And these are people that I have learned a lot from them within the shortest period that I have been in this ministry. And I think that goes a long way to show that we are open to dialogue. It goes a long way to show that we are a very open and consultative government. And therefore, rest assured, we'll listen to you. Rest assured, we'll always have conversations around issues that can improve this industry. It is both an honor and a privilege to address this esteemed gathering at the 2025 Hospitality and Tourism Association of Botswana Annual Conference. Today marks a pivotal moment as we gather to reflect on the transformative strides in our tourism sector, a sector poised to become the next engine of growth, of economic growth, and a cornerstone for job creation across our nation. Let me thank Hatab for hosting this pivotal conference in Maun, the heartbeat of Botswana's tourism. Your dedication to advancing our sector is commendable. I would also like to appreciate our President, Advocate DUMA Gideon BOKO, for taking the time out of his busy schedule to be with us at our first Hatab Annual Conference in the new Botswana. I hope, Mr. President, this is the first of the many that will attend together as Minister and President. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, this year's theme, Botswana Tourism, Exploring the Conditions for Growth, a question that demands bold answers as we chart the future of our sector. We convene at a time when global tourism is navigating new realities, post-pandemic recovery, climate change, evolving consumer expectations, and digital transformation. These changes compel us to ask, what does sustainable growth look like for Botswana's tourism sector, and how do we secure it for the future generations. The value of tourism in Botswana. Tourism remains one of Botswana's most dynamic sectors, ranking second only to mining in its contribution to the country's gross domestic product. It drives employment, uplifts communities, supports conservation, and projects Botswana's identity to the world. From the iconic Okavango Delta to community-run lodges, natural and cultural assets are world-class. I have had the opportunity to visit some of them and see how they look like. But we cannot afford to rest on past achievements. In our efforts to unlock new opportunities, we are addressing the following long-standing challenges. Lack of up-to-date tourism statistics is one of them. We are trying to address lease renewals of tourism concessions, inadequate tourism infrastructure, the need to enhance skills and service excellence, growing pressure on ecosystems, and rising global demand for sustainable, authentic experiences. Creating the right conditions for growth. Ladies and gentlemen, the ministry is implementing the National Tourism Strategy and Master Plan, which is now aligned to the National Transformation Strategy anchored on 4 key pillars, which are enabling environment, marketing and branding, product strengthening and diversification, infrastructure and support services. To guide development, the country has been divided into 8 tourism development areas. We have made significant progress in 3 key tourism development areas. Tourism development area 1, which is Gaborone, urban regeneration efforts have identified 5 sites, including the main mall, Kama Crescent, the CBD Green Link, Old Naledi. Concept designs are currently underway. TDA4, which is the Chobe area, through the Kasani Kazungula redevelopment project, 4 key sites are being allocated to investors: a residential eco estate, Kasani Marina, multi-use event center and hotel, and the Kazungula waterfront. TDA6, Panhandle or Kavango, a layout plan for tourism around the Mohembo Bridge has been developed. Site assessments and land acquisition are in progress. Director of Ceremony, the ministry is supporting 8 regional community museums around the country. Earlier on, when the panelists were talking to us, they indicated the need for diversification of our product. And therefore, that is why we are now talking about museums across the country, working to safeguard Botswana's rich heritage collections. These community museums serve as guardians of our history and as platforms for cultural education and tourism development. Through the Adopt a Museum program, we are actively pursuing partnerships with members of the public, non-governmental organizations, and the business community to support the management and conservation of Botswana's cultural and natural heritage sites. This initiative aims to strengthen our cultural heritage facilities, enabling them to continue preserving and conserving our national treasures. By doing so, we ensure the sustainability of our cultural heritage tourism product, which is an essential component of our broader tourism offering. Policy alignment and investment climate. Ladies and gentlemen, we are reviewing key tourism legislation, including the Tourism Act of 2009, to streamline licensing and foster a more investor-friendly environment. In addition, the Forest Act of 1968 is also being reviewed. Mr. President, the Ministry of Environment and Tourism is also in the process of tabling the community-based natural resource management bill in the coming winter session of Parliament to enact it into law, to strengthen community involvement in tourism. We recently, Mr. President, amended the Wildlife Conservation and National Parks Act of 2023, which will empower anti-poaching personnel to carry out appropriate firearms to combat poaching activities in the country. Botswana tourism is predominantly wildlife-based, and naturally, this calls for concerted efforts to ensure protection of the biodiversity. Such efforts include transforming and strengthening the Department of Wildlife and National Parks to enable them to better respond to emerging challenges. Infrastructure, connectivity, and data. Infrastructure, Mr. President, is the backbone of tourism. Through collaboration with other ministries, we are prioritizing road, air, and digital infrastructure that supports the sector. We are pleased with recent progress. The new international routes have been introduced by Ethiopian Airlines and Fly Namibia. Airlink will increase flight frequency during the April 2025 peak season. This is not enough. We aim for more. These developments, Director of Ceremony, enhance connectivity and strengthen Botswana's position as a premier tourism and investment destination. Mr. President, the ministry has opened 4 routes in the riverfront at Chobe National Park to accommodate tourists. 5 new game view routes will be opened this year to further spread tourists along the riverfront so that they do not concentrate in one area. We call it decongestion. Furthermore, the ministry is working on opening roads in low-density tourism zones such as Nogatsa, Zizwi, to further attract tourists to other parts of Chobe National Park. Bridges in Muremi Game Reserve are not in good condition, as well as tourist roads within our protected areas. To improve accessibility, we have prioritized road maintenance in protected areas to ensure safe travel for tourists and our operators. Ladies and gentlemen, I recently opened Sidudu Ngoma transit route, 24 hours round the clock, effective 1st April 2025. This was a thorough process and engagement with the Chobe communities. This initiative will not only facilitate free movement of communities, but we also hope that it will ease the movement of tourism and improve the economy of that area. In the 2025-2026 financial year, we'll also update the tourism satellite account to better measure tourism contribution to the economy. The TSA will now be updated at least every 2 years to support data-driven planning. To this end, I'm pleased to inform you that we have procured the services of a consultant who will begin the work in the not-so-distant future. We hope that this will address your long-standing concern of outdated tourism statistics. Elephant in the room, renewal of concession leases. Director of Ceremony, the Ministry of Environment and Tourism, in conjunction with the Ministry of Lands and Agriculture, are finalizing the renewal of tourism concession leases. Bear with us, and we would like to apologize profusely for the delay. And we are aware of your frustrations, but we are doing everything in our power to ensure that leases are renewed as soon as possible. And let me tell you, when I was talking to the President a few months ago about this issue of leases, the President said to me, "Minister, why don't you call Minister of Land, sit down and give him to sign now That's the attitude. And like I said, they will be done very, very soon. Issue of another big issue. Another elephant in the room, local per diem and management of campsites. Mr. President, the introduction of local per diem rates in Botswana has sparked debates about the effects on the tourism industry, particularly accommodation. We undertook a snapshot survey last year, which revealed revenue declines and operational challenges, such as civil servants negotiating reduced room rates and sharing accommodation. The Minister of Environment and Tourism and the Minister of State President will soon engage. In fact, yesterday I also spoke to Minister of State President about this issue and the need for us to meet as soon as possible so that we interact with this issue and find a solution very, very soon. Moving on to the management of campsites in our protected areas, we must admit, ladies and gentlemen, that most, if not all, of our campsites are not in a good state. And I must admit that as the ministry responsible for the well-being of the environment, we have come short in this regard. To remedy this, we are currently coming up with modalities for the management of these campsites, which you will be notified about soon. Empowering communities and elevating service excellence. Tourism must empower Botswana not only as workers, but as owners, entrepreneurs, and leaders. The CBNRM model remains central to our vision, and we will continue to support its growth. At the same time, we must raise service standards. Raise service standards. Tourism is about experiences, and experiences are shaped by people. That is why the ministry, through the Department of Tourism, is developing a national service excellence strategy to build a culture of quality across the sector through training, recognition, and continuous improvement. Collaborating for a shared future. The future of tourism in Botswana cannot be achieved by government alone. It demands a shared vision and a strong partnership between the public and the private sector. We must tell Botswana's story as a destination of natural beauty, cultural richness, innovation, and responsible tourism. Let this conference be more than just a dialogue. Let it ignite action, forge new partnerships, and inspire bold steps towards a more inclusive, sustainable, and competitive tourism industry. In conclusion, Director of Ceremony, let me remind you that Botswana subscribes to both sustainable consumptive and non-consumptive utilization of wildlife resources, which is guided by scientific research. However, the restrictions on the importation of hunting trophies by some European countries and the United States of America is a threat to the sustainable consumptive industry. We should therefore be vigilant and jealously protect our progressive policies and achievements thus far that would enhance economic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, Director of Ceremony, I commend Hatab, our industry leaders, and all stakeholders for your dedication and passion. The road ahead is not without challenges, but our potential is undeniable. Together, let us create the conditions for growth that is sustainable, inclusive, and reflective of the pride and promise of our great nation. God bless our President. God bless Botswana. I thank you, Director of Ceremony. And at this point, Director of Ceremony, I would like to introduce our next speaker, our guest speaker, Honorable Advocate, the Advocate DUMA Gideon BOKO, the President of the Republic of Botswana. Sir, I invite you to the podium.
Please be seated. Thank you very much. Let me gratefully acknowledge each and every one of you individually and personally. And thank you for being here today. I was worried when I was coming here because I know that gatherings of this nature have a tendency of merely becoming a generous exchange of flattery platform where we don't speak honestly and tell each other the truth. I was comforted when I listened to the panelists. It seems we are here to speak honestly, truthfully to each other. So thank you very much for that. We acknowledge the Minister for Environment and Tourism. I heard his plea to me presented as some sort of subtext to what he was saying. He says, please keep me as minister. He says, let this be the first of many that you and I will address together. Basically saying, let me be the minister for the next 5 years. Don't think of shifting or removing me. I heard the plea. I heard another plea. Can Maung be a city? Actually, I was saying that as I was coming here this morning. I said, why isn't this place a city? I think it's about time. I heard a request that for me seems to assume the lineaments of a demand. It says, change the laws. And that's going to be the focus of my discussion with you today. And as you may realize, I always try and speak from the heart so that there's sincerity and candor in the discourse. I am a lawyer by habit, training, and practice. That's my craft. Making laws, changing them, critiquing. And so I'm in familiar territory when I'm asked to review laws and change them. And I'm going to give you a simple formula that you must also apply in the conversation about law reform. In the legal profession, we call it the rule in Hayden's case. And Hayden's case was decided way back in the year 1584. gave us a simple formula for law reform. It's called the mischief rule. The first thing we must establish is what is the situation that obtains presently? What are the laws that are currently in place? We must understand them, so we must read the law, so we understand what the current legal and regulatory framework provides. Before we do anything to the laws, what do they provide? Then we ask the next question. What is the problem with these laws as they stand now? The is proposition. What is the current state of play? What are the challenges and or problems with this current state of play? And I look to you, the industry participants and players, to inform and guide on what the challenges are, because you are in the front lines. You are the ones feeling the brunt more directly, perhaps, than myself and others. And some of the folks who have to sit and stand occasionally in Parliament to speak on these laws, they are not as much in the front lines as yourselves. So you carry a heavy obligation, therefore, of providing the raw data, the facts and the fact patterns that must inform any attempt at legislative reform. The Member of Parliament, the eminent gentleman for the area, when he speaks on matters of tourism and what legislative reforms must take place, must speak with authority, deriving from the information and the guidance he would have received from all of you, so that when he stands up in Parliament to speak, he is but your trumpet voice, presenting issues, ideas that he obtained from yourselves. So he becomes, therefore, your spokesperson. And that's what I want to hear from him in the next Parliament, which is when laws are going to be made. If he fails, I will hold you responsible. You would have failed him. So you need to then engage with him, give him ideas, prepare him thoroughly for the debate in Parliament, give him all the information that he will need as he engages in the process of reforming the very laws that you are complaining about. The third layer of the inquiry in the Hayden's case is, what then is the solution to the identified challenges and problems? We said, what is the state of play? What is the problem with this state of play? What are the solutions that we propose? And often when we get here, it gets murky. Politicians tend to confuse themselves here, a lot of them, because they come with the arrogance of thinking whatever they say is the gospel truth. It actually is not. Never is. It's not about blueprints, I've said, and I say it here, I'll say it going forward. It's about pathways. We explore, we examine, we probe the options available to us at any given point of time. What is it that we can do about these problems? How should we resolve them? Very critical. And when we engage at this level, respectfully, we listen to every voice, every view and viewpoint, and try and understand what the merits of each proposition are. And we engage with those merits, identify any demerits, blend, harmonize these different variegated views and viewpoints, the better for us to come to some common position, a common center of consciousness. It's not about blueprints. And politicians, when they stand up in parliament, they present some assumed gospel truth, lacking hermeneutic humility, the ability to appreciate that whatever you say is capable of revision and critique. This is what it's about. That is why we must always be humble. Whether you are president or whatever you think you are, you've got to be humble and listen to the other person, because they may actually hold a fragment of the truth which you can bring into your own stance to fortify it. And this is what leadership represents. That humility. There is no way in which you can not be humble. On what basis, really? That you can refuse to listen to other people. And I bring in the third of the pleas that I've heard today. There used to be a tourism pizza that for some strange reason fell into obsolescence. It now is no longer taking place. You want it back. You are demanding. You frame it as if you are pleading and begging. You were not begging. I heard the undertones. You were demanding. And that demand is acceded to here and now. And don't thank me. I'm not doing anybody any favor. In fact, I'm doing myself a favor, if you look at it. By agreeing to hold this pizza, I'm allowing myself to be informed, to be guided, to be educated, to be schooled by people who know. And so how would I refuse? Why would I not take you up on this offer to school me, to train me, to educate me as the experts? I take you up on your offer, and I accept it readily. And so you will schedule. And the other request, you called it a courtesy call. Well, maybe let's call it that. Let's meet. I'm ready anytime. Sometime, in fact, almost every day I sit up in meetings until 12 midnight. If you guys are ready to start at 9 p.m. and we go on until 1 a.m., I'm happy. So it's important for us to engage so that we challenge each other. We push each other hard. We force each other to transcend some of these levels of the mundane, the conventional, and the commonplace. We transition to a different level of thinking and operation. The fourth layer of the inquiry in Hayden's case is, now having proffered the solutions, we engage in what they call a means-ends test. Are the means that we have fashioned, developed, and are about to deploy properly tailored to the attainment of the goals that we have identified? In American constitutional jurisprudence, they call it the means-ends calculus. Must engage in this manner. So it's a very simple formula, not complicated at all. Doesn't need you to be a lawyer. You ask these questions as you engage with the process of legislative reform. And so when the lawyers come and speak their convoluted legalese, you are able to break it down and bring it down to brass tacks and say, what was the situation before you did this? What were the problems that we all identified? What are the solutions that we are thinking of deploying? Are these solutions properly tailored for the attainment of the envisioned goals? This is the formula. We're going to engage in law reform. You are going to guide the Member of Parliament and other members of Parliament. Other legislators, by the way. You need to engage with all of them so that they understand these issues. They can represent your views, your desires, and we can then move our country forward. Legislative reform, I've given you a simple formula. So when you engage with me next, when you come for the consultations and discussions and the pizzos, we will be working within this framework so that we know where we are going. Very, very important. We are not in any doubt that tourism presents a huge potential for our country. As we speak, it comes immediately after diamonds. In fact, if we manage it well, it may overtake diamonds. Why not? Why not? And so we need to wrestle with some of the attendant challenges and problems as we seek to grow the industry. And you framed your theme in a very interesting way. You framed it as a question. What are the conditions for growth? Interesting way of crafting a theme. We realize you've had problems. You mentioned the renewals of leases. Some of these things actually confuse and confound my rudimentary understanding. Why does it take 2 days to get a lease renewed? Why does it take? Yeah, exactly. Why does it take that amount of time? What is the problem? And I asked some of the public officers, because when they are given stuff to do, you hear the permanent secretary says he or she is considering it. I said, break it down for me. Considering, what does it mean exactly? Blow by blow, what are you doing? When you say you are considering, what are you talking about? And I know what it means. You've taken it and shelved it, and you are busy with your other activities. You may return to it sometime later. It doesn't work like that. And so I've asked for agility. When stuff comes, it mustn't be done now, today, or tomorrow. Yesterday. And so I was engaging with the Attorney General recently. She says, this is a bulky document. We need to take time to go over it. I said, no, it doesn't work like that. You're given the document at 5 p.m., 1,000 pages, whatever it is. First thing in the morning tomorrow, you and I must be talking about the document, settling it. If it has to be signed, we have to sign. And so the Attorney General is now agile. It's taking a bit of time to infuse the same level of agility in other areas, but we will get there. We will get there. And I see people making uncanny comparisons with Paul Kagame, my good friend Ibrahim Traore. And I say, some of these folks are operating in a slightly different environment, where their word is obeyed instantly, without question. It's a different environment. You say, this guy is not doing things. Traore is doing them. Yeah, Traore wakes up, dreams them up. Following morning, he makes a pronouncement. It is law. It is policy. Action follows. And I wake up and I say stuff, they look at me and say, what is this? What is this man talking about? We need to take it through this stage and that stage and put it to tender, float the tender. It takes 2 years, then we evaluate, then there are complaints, and there's an interdict. We wait another 4 years. By that time, you have to go and account to the people, and they remove you. Those who came before me did not fail because they didn't have ideas. They did. Maybe even better ideas. They just didn't implement them. Why? Because perhaps they failed to appreciate that the structures that are in place are not properly suited to the attainment of quick action. So you need to subvert some of these rules and processes unapologetically. And I will do it. Let me tell you here and now. I will. Within the confines of the law, and I know it. If there's anything I know, it's the law. That's all I know, really. So I will, within the law. Tell me to flight a tender, take 2 years to procure some much needed service. I'm not going to waste anybody's time with that. I'm going to take the quick route, as the crow flies, straight on to action. And I'll take fire from politicians. That's what I'm always ready for. I like it. I enjoy, I relish the fire. But I will do what is good for the people. For any industry that must drive and power this economy, we're going to do it together. So, with the ideas that you will churn out and channel to the government, which will be well thought out, informed by your experiences. We will then shape policy, develop our laws, and make the environment conducive to your doing the business that you so passionately love. There's another angle. When I broached the subject of a living wage of 4,000, one of the members of one of the business people said, we've gone beyond what you suggest. We've actually introduced a system by which our employees can also acquire some stake in the business and become part owners, shareholders in some shape or form of the business. Very interesting proposition. As a tool to manage, when they are invested in the business themselves, and they know that if they go on strike, they are affecting their own profits, as it were, or dividends, I don't think they'll be quick to strike. And so we can deploy this as a management strategy, actually, if we are not committed to the principle that at least it will manage our industrial relations. There will be no conflict. But there are other compelling reasons for the living wage, advanced by scholars and economists. They say it curbs absenteeism, that it increases productivity. When they are paid reasonably well, they are happier. They are therefore more disposed to perform optimally. That there is no decision fatigue. They apply themselves. And when productivity is raised, even the profits will increase. So there's a compelling argument for the living wage. And at this point, I simply implore and encourage that we take this route of the living wage so that our employees are happier, more productive. There's no turnover where you have now keep training. Few months the person goes. It's a huge cost to the company when you go through such cycles. So it's important for us to understand these things. And I'm here to assure you that your government, and I want you to understand this, your government, and often when I see stuff written by the civil servants, my government, no, I don't have a government. I'm part of a government that is serving you. It's your government. So you must make it the government you deserve. And you must guide, you must inform, you must always be there to engage, to direct, and to ensure that what is done is in accordance with the dictates of what the industry wants. And that's my job, really. Very simple task for me. I have the easiest job in the world, by the way. I just have to listen to people who know, understand what they are saying, and do it. Can that be difficult? No. So why do we complicate some of these things? This is how easy it is. And so I am happy to be here with you today. I trust that you will engage fruitfully, robustly in your deliberations, that you will fashion appropriate solutions for the transient problems that we continue to face as a country, as the tourism industry, that other aspects, transportation, marketing, we develop together. You point out what has to be done and how we also manage the destination management companies which are domiciled outside our jurisdiction, but which trade in inventory that is sitting here and profit from it in a manner that we cannot access. We may at some point have to pass a law that says every entity wherever registered that is dealing in our inventory, the wildlife, the wilderness, wherever it is registered, is deemed to be domiciled in Botswana for purposes of tax and other considerations. We may have to go that route. I'm merely signaling. I'm not there yet. I'm throwing it to you so that you can bounce it back more refined. And then we will be able to deal with some of the challenges of the human-wildlife conflict. And the reality there is, these folks who have to coexist with the wildlife. I come from Mahalap. There are no elephants there. There are no lions. There's no wildlife in Mahalap. So I've not had to coexist with these animals. But others in certain other parts of the country face a different lived reality. They have to coexist with these. They can't grow crops. Their whole economic landscape is shaped by the overbearing presence of the wildlife. And so certain things that I can do in Mahalape, they can't do in their area. But when the proceeds of tourism come, we are expected to partake of them equally. It actually is inequitable. We need to introduce a fair bit of equity. Not equality, equity. Appreciating that they are bearing a heavier risk than those of us who are somewhat detached from the wildlife. And so a system of recompense that acknowledges this lived reality of theirs and invests a portion of the proceeds of this industry into securing their lives and livelihoods is actually a requirement at this point. In fact, we have delayed, and as a result, we have treated them unfairly. We need to acknowledge these. And so we've subjected them to conditions of poverty. I know DUMA Trading says poverty can be romantic, but I say poverty is a violation of human rights. Maybe romantic, DUMA Trading, but it's It's a violation of human rights. And so if we, in our policies and practices, continue to expose our people to some of these realities, then we must acknowledge we are failing them. So I hope that it will be one of the issues you will raise and discuss and bring solutions to, so that we are able to make adequate provision, so that we mitigate the disproportionality of impact that exists in these circumstances. These are the issues that, in my humble view, we cannot sidestep, we cannot escape. We must confront them head on together. And so at this point, I am extremely happy. It gives me great pleasure to now declare your conference officially open. Thank you so very much for the privilege of your company here this morning and the pleasure of your kind attention. Thank you so very much.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Another round of applause for Mr. President BOKO. I'd like to also call upon to the stage for a token of appreciation the Minister Re Muluti and the board chair Hatab Re Motse to give the President a token of appreciation. Well, you challenged him, he challenged you back. So, Derek, you think we can do a documentary about Maung from the Mokoro to the town, to the city? You see, I challenged him, he challenged us back. So somebody should capture this moment of Maung on the 24th of April, 2025. The challenge of it becoming a city. He thought the same thing. And like I said earlier, the exhibitors, please make sure that there are people in your stalls, because after this, we are just going to have a poetry session to usher the President to his seat. And then we will have a vote of thanks from the Vice Chair of Hatab, Me Keletso Bokhatu. Then we are going to be touring the stalls with the President and his delegation. I see that Rep Moluti's ministry is very busy, extremely busy. Arare ke simolla go ya parlamenteng a ke go retsa ke ka tlhamalalo. Portrait. From natural selection for Mr. President. I'm actually excited about the topics that we are still going to have throughout these sessions. I said there are 5 sessions, and we are looking forward to that. I think this one works on a Zoom now. I think there is another token of appreciation that you are bringing onto the stage. Bana ba bo gae ba diretse tautona. Thank you very much.
This one is for the minister.
Oh, this one is for the Honorable Minister. And then we will have another one for Mr. President. Honorable Mulutsi, how are the elephant in the room? You know, there's a picture behind on the screen. There was an elephant actually behind it. This is a nice travel bag, Mr. President. And the dates. Thank you very much, Mr. President, Honorable Minister. Boche, Hatab, so thank you very much. We're about to wrap up the program for this morning. I'll call upon to the stage a poet. Please be seated. Thank you very much. I'll call upon a poet. I think the tech team, there's a microphone that's been on stage. I would love to have that mic back on stage, please. As like I've been asking the exhibitors, please make sure that there are people in your stalls. There's been a fear that maybe and during the health break, please let's come back as quick as possible so as we can continue with the discussions for the day. There's a presentation on Botswana's emerging economy reality with tourism done by Director of Research at the Ministry of Finance, and there's a conversation also this morning that are around that particular discussion. I was with him last night, Dr. Rekit Jeffries. I'm sure, where is that microphone? Gentlemen, can we, yeah? The tech team, there was a mic stand here. Come on, guys, we are live. Can we? Can we? Thank you, Koketsu. Koketsu, this one here. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, let me give you Poetess Popo. She's a poet. And there's one microphone missing. I thought we were there yet. I think let's talk about a gentleman. I knew DUMA FM team will take it over. Thank you, all of you. I talked about that. I sell seconds. That's the only thing I know, Mr. President. I just know how to sell seconds. Without further ado, let me welcome to the stage, please, with a round of applause. Let me give you Poetess Popo.
Dumelang. Le bomang lona. Na ke Motswana. Ke morwadi ya mmenyane wa ga Kgapho le ka tlhami kontswe le kwadilwe gabane wa balete ba letangwedi. Ke letebelele le ntsho la ga Mmasodi a mphela ba ga selala le namane le tlhakoleng ke tsile go le tsikitla maikutlo ka poko le mmino ke Motswana. I am the rhythm of Matlao that binds me to the soils that swallowed my great-grandfathers in time. My name echoes in the cliffs of Todilo, in the streams of Ntimbale, and in the waves of the Kalahari dunes. Hey, Kerile lebo manglona. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nametso Ponchitsekiso. I'm an environmental researcher in the University of Botswana, and it gives me so much delight to stand here today in a different hat. Mr. President, BOKO Dumela. I want you to journey with me in this next poem and remember Pula as our heritage and Pula as a contribution to the tourism industry. I'm not alone this morning. I'm with an educator, a poet and musician, Dread X Lehodile Wagasighanabing. Nestled in the belly of a desert, a landlocked oasis, what would we tell of the stories embedded in this country? Goroga ka pula mo Botswana. Pula! The story of tourism begins with the smiles that greet those that seek to find fortune in her land along the Trans-Kalahari and Trans-Molopo highways. Pula is a greeting that takes you from Ramokhebana to Ramatlabama, embedded in a tapestry of language and in the hospitality and the warmth of her people. Huimor, Nawashike, Dumelang. A nation that sings Tsogang, Tsogang Banna, Tsogang, Emang Basadi, Emang, in the collaborative effort of men and women industrializing this economy, believing in the business of aviation and the joy of immigration stamps. It is agriculture and conservation, nestled in the inclusive policies of tables of conversation. Mr. President, Bojanala is more than men and women adorned in military green and khaki and white shirts. It is in the service of their smiles. Bojanala is the delicate art of basket weaving. Bojanala is the delicate art of basket weaving. It is embedded in the vibrancy of art in Digar. It is the people, it is the music, it is the sound and movement of Patisise, Tapa, and polka dance. We celebrate it in the aroma and cuisines rich in Curtis and Mafia Town. From Domboshaba to Lenzela Baratani, it is embedded in the geography of Tui Harbor Caves. Tourism is embedded in the underlying rocks and sand erupting in mountainous rifts in Rakibana and Kawa dunes. Mpulele girelwa ke pula kare mpulele 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 girelwa ke pula. Our national pride, the iconic Kori bastard, and the magical stripes of zebras layered in the dust of Makadi Khadi pans. Sekoti carried our names. The fame of our elephant herd, breaking Western news, we paid the dues, Mr. President. Pula, our national price. Pula, the time it takes to build an industry of legacy. We embedded here. The time it takes to build a legacy in decades, in 40 years of Hatab singing BOKO as the prize of unity. Hatab, your love compares to a compassionate mother carrying and remembering home. Hatab, your iconic standing reminds me of a mother whose love and wings wide enough to embrace unity and diversity of tourism Botswana, of destination Botswana. Today we are standing in ululation, remembering the time it took for us to stand in this place. The gateway into the Okavango Delta, meandering in a panoramic view of hotels standing in illumination. In luxurious standing we stand, we came all the way. In Maung town, Horoha Kapula mo Maung. Maung town, a town whose daily bars of Difolaili di Tondoroke makes the name we embedded in this place. Pula is a standing ovation. When I'm called to speak in front of the Tonali di Khosigadi, I shout, Pula, to remember little boys and girls who look at us in this morning, illuminating their daily dreams of one day becoming Masafari. Masafari is tourism. Masafari is a name we embedded in this place. Masafari is cultural heritage. Masafari is a daily reminder of the men and women working behind an industry that makes this place. Masafari is little boys and girls being carried on Megora rice to the shoreline, remembering tourism as a weapon, tourism as a cultural heritage, tourism as you and I, as a fire warm enough to make this place for us. Safari is more than just a name. It is us. It is the people. Mpulele, 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 girelwa ke pula.
Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for her, please, and the guitarist. As we are slowly, that took me somewhere. Transitions, and yeah, it took me somewhere. But anyway, I'd like to call upon to the stage to give us a vote of thanks. The Hatab Vice Chair, Me Keletso Bokhatsu, to come on stage just to give us a vote of thanks. Madam.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As already introduced, Vice Chairperson of Hatab, but also the General Manager of Piedmont Global Botswana, a BDC company which operates Grand Palm, Mondio, which are both in Gaborone, and Piermont Medcourt, which is in Francistown. I stand on the protocols that have already been observed. Mine is very simple. Mr. President, thank you for gracing us with your presence today. Your leadership and commitment to the progress of our industry inspire us all. Your words today have not only uplifted our spirits, but also reminded us of the greater vision we all share. To the Honorable Minister, we are truly grateful for your invaluable support and contribution. Your dedication to your portfolio, to the betterment of our communities and our industry is clearly evident. Thank you for being a pillar of strength and guidance. A heartfelt thank you also goes to our esteemed Khosi, Ra leboga. You are a custodian of culture, unity, and wisdom. Your presence today reaffirms the importance of tradition and the role of leadership in shaping our collective future. We are honored by your blessings and your continued support. To all our distinguished guests, delegates, partners, and organizers, thank you for your tireless efforts and participation. This event would not have been possible without each and every one of you. Mr. President, a wise man once said, when given the bullet, use it decisively. A lot of elephants have been spoken about in the room today, but there's one elephant that we continue to forget, which is mice. Mice can only be attained, Mr. President, with a partnership of the government. And if it was, or if we were given a chance today as Hatab, we would respectively demand that an MOU be signed between Hatab and government to ensure that mice takes over the country. I'm sure one of our colleagues will define it even further on today. We've got a product, Mr. President, and that product is Botswana. Beautiful product. And the world wants to come to Botswana. And through mice, we can achieve that. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for honoring our invite. And as we continue to work together in partnership to make sure that the tourism industry goes further into nations and generations to come. Thank you very much.
We are at that point where I've been asking if your stall is ready, because it's that moment where the Hatab Chair, Remotse, and Mayor Rakorong will lead the President to tour the stalls. And the rest of you, the rest of us, we can have a quick 20 minutes break, a health break, for a cup of tea, a quick snack, and let us be back here at exactly 11:20. May we rise for the President, please. Mr. President, thank you very much, and you have yourself a lovely day. Thank you, sir. Thank you. All of us, we will be back here in 20 minutes. Thank you so much as we continue on to the second session of today. Thank you. Talk soon.